First of all, Mark, let me just say it's an honor to have this time with you, really.
Thank you.
I've watched you from afar, not only being in the stands, right, but then a big fan of Shark Tank.
I appreciate it. That's nice of you to
have
say.
you here is a real honor, and I'm excited about kind of hearing your story and some of the lessons that you've learned along the way that I can not only apply in my own business, but then take those jewels, those treasures, if you will, and share them with the larger community of
Well, now you
business
just put the
owners.
pressure on me. Hopefully I can come up with some jewels and some treasure.
Okay. I have a feeling. So I'm curious to know, because from everything that I've read, you don't come from an entrepreneurial family, right?
Not really. My dad, you know, had various jobs and then ended up working for a long time doing upholstery on cars. So if you had a rip in your car seat, you took it to Regency Products in Pittsburgh, and my dad sewed up your car seat. Or, you know, back in the day, if you wanted to create a pimp mobile, they also did pimp mobile. So he was proud of that.
Okay.
So he had, you know, some crazy characters that he used to talk about. But yeah, I mean,
Well, you had a cool dad then.
Yeah, my dad's cool. Yeah, but trust me, he didn't think his job was cool. But yeah, we're a traditional middle class blue collar family.
But you made some really early big shifts. I mean, most kids look forward to their senior year, right? To, you know, party and enjoy, and you passed basically, right? I mean, you
I skipped my senior year.
Yeah.
I always did everything back ass halfwards. You know, I like to challenge myself, and I went to Mount Lebanon High School in Pittsburgh, and I wanted to take business classes my junior year. Only they didn't offer any business classes, and so I decided I'd take some college business classes. But University of Pittsburgh didn't offer any real business classes either. So I said, you know, I'm going to challenge myself, and so I took a couple night classes at the University of Pittsburgh my junior year in high school. Did well in them and wasn't really challenged all that much at all. And so I just dropped out of high school, and instead of going back for my senior year, I went to the University of Pittsburgh and started taking classes there. My buddies were like, "Where'd you go?" And it was just I've always tried to challenge myself.
Yeah. And so, but I got to ask, I mean, really, where does that come from? I mean, what was going on? What conversations were you having in your head, or your parents, or who, that you said as a junior, I want to take business classes?
I just think I've always been wired that way. You know, when I was 10 years old, I was taking baseball cards and repackaging them and having a little trade show for baseball cards in the local park. I was selling garbage bags door to door, you know, to get basketball shoes when I was 12. I was buying and selling stamps when I was 15 and 16. I don't know. I think as much as anything, I've always been very, very competitive, and I wasn't all that good an athlete. I was one of those kids that kind of blossomed late. When I was, you know, a sophomore, junior in high school, I was probably 5'9" and weighed about 15 pounds more than I do today. I had thick glasses instead of contacts. I remember the first time I got contacts. Actually, somebody just sent me a picture from Pittsburgh from a Sweet 16 party. I was actually 17, and it was the first time I'd worn glasses out in public. I mean, contacts out in public. And the response I got was night and day versus anything else.
Really?
I mean, I mean, when I was 11, no, it was high school, 14, 15, I was playing baseball, got hit in the mouth, and my parents, I mean, never into fashion or looks or anything. And so to save money, rather than getting white colored caps, you know, that's my teeth, I had silver color caps. Yeah. So I had these big glasses, I was this big chunky kid, and if I smiled, you know, there was a light shining in my face, everybody was blinded. So it was, you know, I guess, you know, you just adapt, and I was just always really competitive, and business was something that I realized early on that I was good at and that I enjoyed, and so I just gravitated towards it and enjoyed it.
Okay, and then you decided you were Indiana bound.
Yeah, Pitt didn't have a business school, and so I saw a list of the top 10 business schools, and the cheapest was Indiana University. I applied, never visited the campus, and got in, and you know, showed up. Exactly. And that was it. And
Kelley School of Business.
Yeah,
right?
And actually I was undergrad, and so you know, showed up and lived on Shea One and Foster Quad, and it was, you know, it was a crapshoot, but it was one of the best moves I've ever made. Okay. And when I got there, again, trying to challenge myself, I thought, okay, I'd grown over the summer, and so instead of being 5'10", 5'11", I'm 6'2". I'm growing into my body now instead of being the chubby kid.
Right.
I have contacts now. I don't have shiny silver caps on my teeth.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, here's a new beginning. I'm going to be the floor president of Shea One, and I also decided that I was going to challenge myself. See, I like to create these funky challenges for myself. And so I decided that my first 2 years of college, I was going to take all the hard classes and not drink, so that by the time I was a senior in college, I could party like a madman and take freshman English.
Okay.
And so I went to register for senior level business classes and realized that, okay, I could take MBA classes. They didn't know that, but I just stood in line and registered for these MBA classes, got in, and did well. My freshman year, my first year semester at IU, I took graduate level statistics, and I thought, okay, if I can do well in this class, I can do well in that one. I got an A in it. And the funny side story is my professor, I'm 18 years old, my first semester, literally, truly a freshman still, and I took graduate level statistics. My prof was a guy named Wayne Winston. Flash forward many, many, many years later, I just bought the Dallas Mavericks, watching Jeopardy. There's Wayne Winston just killing it on Jeopardy. Okay, that's fine. It refresh my memory. Oh, I should get in touch with him.
Right.
I wonder if there's some things that he could do with the Mavericks statistically to help us. And then I get an email. The Mavs are playing the Pacers. He remembered me, shockingly, right, from class.
Shockingly.
No, I mean, seriously, why would you
The
remember?
18-year-old? I mean, come on. The 18-year-old taking.
Well, I don't know.
graduate
I'm
level?
just another kid.
That's pretty unforgettable,
Well,
I think, for
I'm
a
just another
prof.
kid on campus, right? And so he gets in touch with me, and I'm like, all right, let's start doing some statistical analysis. This is in, March or April of 2000.
Right.
I'm like, let's start using stats to try to do player evaluation and whatever else we can do to try to give the Mavs an advantage. And kind of like baseball, it started to do the whole Billy Bean, Moneyball type thing. And he's like, sure. And so we started a relationship that lasted 11, 12 years, all from my deciding to take graduate level statistics my freshman year.
Amazing.
Yeah, well,
right?
it started off amazing, and then it kind of got kind of funky because by the middle of my sophomore year, I'd had like more than a year of my MBA done.
Okay.
But then all of a sudden, the head of the Kelley School of Business, the MBA school, I think his name was Dean Porter, saw me on campus, walked up to me, starts poking me in the chest. I don't know how you did it, but you are no longer in this MBA program. You can't just walk in and take classes because you want to. So I had to transfer all my MBA credits back to undergrad and use those to graduate.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So it's just, but you learn the lesson that, it's not bad necessarily to take intellectual chances.
Right.
What's the downside? They put me back in freshman English. Right. The upside is I challenged myself. I realized I can compete with people a lot, older and smarter than me if I just put in the effort and put in the time. And so it was a great experience, I tutored. I remember tutoring some kids in finance and accounting, and it's not like I'm a rocket scientist, right? It's just literally, business just made sense to me. Yeah. It's just a language that made sense and was easy for me. And it's funny to look back.
You're a humble guy, but I got to tell you, you need to know, right? You're a smart guy. I know
I'm not stupid, but there's a lot of people a lot smarter than me. I'm just a believer that everybody's got one or two things that they're really, really, really good at, that they're wired for. And the hard part is just finding it and having the confidence to go after it.
Well, having the confidence to go after it is what you've done, I think, pretty miraculously. So you're done with Indiana, right? And you hear all about, the weather in Dallas, right? The job opportunities, but most importantly, right?
The hot women, yeah, in Dallas.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm 22 years old,
Yeah.
Yeah, I came down to Dallas because of fun, sun, money, and women. A bunch of my buddies from Indiana were living in the Village. And
like 5 of them or something,
well, yeah,
right?
So ended up that, can I just crash on your floor for a little bit, right, till I get a job? And it ended up being fun, so I never left for 6 months, so I slept on the floor for 6 months.
Piled your clothes in the corner.
In the corner, yeah, just nasty, nasty, nasty stuff. And got a job working as a bartender at night at a club called Alon's. Right. And then got a job working for a company called Your Business Software that I worked at for about 9 months till I got fired.
Yeah. But you learned something, I read there, that is a motto that you still refer to this day, right? All sales.
Sales cures all. Yeah, I learned a bunch of stuff. You know, it's funny how much you can learn from a company that's failing or a company that's not doing well. You know, I learned that sales cures all. I learned that RTFM, read the freaking manual.
Yeah.
You know, most people don't spend the time, particularly in the tech world, just to read. You know, the beauty of tech is that it's changing every minute of every day, and there's really two classes of people in the tech world: the person or people who invented it, and then there's everybody else. And other than the people who created the technology, everybody else is in the same boat. You know, if you just spend the time to learn whatever it is, well, you're competing with people who are having to do the exact same thing. Right. And by reading the manual, by investing the time to try to get up front on technology, you can be ahead of the curve because most people won't put in the effort. And then I also learned, you know, as you were mentioning, that, you know, in any company, that if the head of the company isn't focused on selling, there's a good chance that company's going to fail, because there's no company that's ever survived without sales.
Absolutely.
And they proved the point by going out of business.
So a lot of people think that AudioNet, later named Broadcast.com, was your really big first win, but you actually
Yeah, I had some wins, a lot of wins before that.
Yeah. So talk about.
Well, I got fired from your business software about 9 months in, and took a customer from there and started a company called Micro Solutions. Right. And it was me, just me, basically. And I found an office that, well, actually I worked out of my apartment in the Village at the beginning. And what it was about was, you know, to the point I just mentioned, you know, technology comes fast and furious, and most people are afraid or don't take the time to learn or want help for whatever reason. And this was the early days of the PC industry, and I just put in the time and whatever it took. I couldn't afford my own PC, and so I would tell a customer that, you know, I'll learn the software, I'll install it, and I'll support it for you. You know, let me take your PC home so I can learn it, but I'll make sure it gets done. And then once you start learning a couple pieces of software, you get referrals, and I just grew the company and kept on growing and growing. And we made a couple right strategic moves. I always tried to ask myself, what's next? What's coming next? So with Micro Solutions, what worked out really well for us was, back then, it was common just to take a floppy drive and your floppy disk and just walk from PC to PC, and that's how you network basically. And I thought, you know what, that makes no sense. PCs are going to be connected up at some point so that people could share data. And so I want to learn how to network PCs. Well, you know, there was one company, basically a company called Novell, that was doing it, and we became their fourth system integrator in the entire country, and I used that, you know, connecting PCs together, local area networking, to turn Micro Solutions into. By the time we sold it, we were on a $30 million a year run rate, and you know, one of the things I'm most proud of with Micro Solutions is that we were profitable every single month of our existence. Never had a losing month, let alone quarter or year, until we sold it to CompuServe, which was then part of H&R Block, and then I took that money and I retired.
Yeah. For a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you did. I bet you did. But you were setting yourself up for more fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole point. I mean, my whole attitude was work hard, play hard, and I didn't take a vacation for 7 years during Micro Solutions. And then when I sold that company, I bought a lifetime pass on American Airlines, and you know, I came to Dallas to party like a madman, and I worked my butt off to be in a position, and you know, I got very good at it.
So let's talk a little bit about passion, because you're really passionate about basketball, sports, right? And in fact, the whole Broadcast.com started because of your passion to want to watch the Hoosiers game, right, on the internet. Right. And then you took that and you obviously...
Yeah, you know what, I wouldn't call it so much passion as I would just paying attention to the obvious. You know,
interesting.
Because I think when most people, just the way I'm wired, when I see something, I always say, is that the best way to do it? Is that the only way to do it? I mean, it's weird. I mean, I'll be in a restaurant and I'll be thinking, you know, my mind will work in the processes. It's like, I was at an event and I saw John Legend there, and we were listening to another band, and I like, when you listen to music, what do you see? You know, what do you hear? And he started telling me about how he hears the arrangements and how he would do things differently and how he would compose things differently. And when I see business processes, no matter what it is, I always say, okay, is this the way I would do it? Is this the best possible way to do it? What would make it more efficient? What would make it more profitable? Is there an opportunity? Are they doing it so wrong that, and this is the way it's always been done, that there's an opportunity for a new business? And and then the last part is, am I willing to do the work to make sure I'm right?
Exactly.
And so with Todd Wagner, who's one of my best friends, we would sit down and talk and BS about business all the time. And he came to me with, okay, some guy's trying to invent this thing using pagers to get scores and listen to scores. And I'm like, that's crazy. All this internet stuff is happening. Now when we listen to an Indiana basketball game, somebody puts a radio next to a speakerphone, and we get on the other side down here in Dallas and listen to it on the speakerphone. There's got to be a better way. And so it was, on one hand, because the fact that I love to listen to Indiana basketball, or I'm a big fan, created the opportunity, but it really was the same way I approach everything, whether it's today or then. Is this the best process? Is this the best way? Is there a way to reinvent this? Is there a way to disturb it? Is there a way to completely disrupt him and put him completely out of business? And at that point, because the internet was brand new and I was still a tech geek, I put the tech hat on. It's like, okay, let's see what we can do with the internet. So I bought myself a PC that I could dedicate. I put in the second bedroom of my house, spent maybe $4,000 altogether, bought a faster connection to the internet, and just started teaching myself. And that's how basically the whole streaming business, we didn't invent the streaming software, but we helped make it work, and we helped integrate it, and we basically invented the streaming industry.
Right.
Which 18 years later is kind of crazy when you think about it.
It is. So I'm curious to know, have you always had in your mind the notion that you've got to have an exit strategy, that you're going to build this? Okay.
No. It's always been like my first company. I'm proud of the fact that we're profitable every month. It's how can you be profitable? To me, a company with an exit strategy is a company I want to avoid.
Okay.
Because you can't control your own destiny.
Right.
There's no assurances that someone's going to come along, and especially now, here we are in 2013, the number of IPOs, where companies are raising, I think the number is $60 million or less than the IPO, has dropped by like 80%. The only IPOs you see are, private equity companies that took companies public and now are trying to cash out, and they pay so much in fees to bankers that they basically buy their way into the IPO market. And so there's not really that progression that you saw in the 90s, which was build a company, make it profitable, and then go public. And then the internet bubble came along, and it was build a company, doesn't have to be profitable, right? And then take it public. And now it's build a company, or not even, it's come up with an idea, hopefully with sweat equity or angel capital, start a company, get it going, and then try to raise more money from venture capitalists or angel investors, whatever it may be. Then do a Series A, then do a Series B. And because there's really no outlet for IPOs unless you just get enormous, like Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, you basically have to hope you get bought or just be profitable. And the concept, it's tough enough to get a Series A or Series B, from investors. That's tough, right? And let alone go out and get acquired. So if you're starting a company today, your goal better be to just be obscenely cash flow positive so you can put money in the bank and grow that company. Otherwise, your options start declining. If you don't have, if you can't get the cash flow positive relatively quickly, the idea of controlling your own destiny goes flying right out the window. And that's a huge problem that I think just the mindset today, it's just becoming bastardized, where it's raise money, and if I can raise money, that's an end game in and of itself. There's nothing that, the two things that I think that make me mad more than anything, excuse my French, piss me off more than anything, is one, when people enter contests, there's so many like entrepreneurial contests now, that, I came in third place, my business idea came in third place, in this or that, or Disrupt or TechCrunch or whatever. Or, hey, I'm smart because I just raised money. If somebody's giving me money, it must be a good idea. No, because, every angel investor knows that 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, maybe 95%, depending on who the investor and how they invest, 95% are going to go out of business.
That's right.
That's not a compliment that they gave you money. It just means you're part of the crapshoot, and you don't know which number you are. Are you red? Are you black? Are you 18? Are you 93? Right? You're just a number, and so you better realize that the best equity is sweat equity, and raising money is actually a weakness, not a strength, because now you're beholden to somebody who just gave you that money.
Right.
You know, if I'm giving you
Shifts
money,
everything, doesn't it?
It sure does. If I'm giving you money, it's not because I like you,
Right.
right? It's because I have an expectation.
Right. Okay, good enough. So let's do the shift now to Shark Tank.
Okay.
Right? Big fan, as you well know. Great show, great show. And I think I learned today that it's like the #1 show.
So watch my families together. It's crazy.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, that's what somebody
right?
told us. Yep.
Yeah,
It-
really
It's shocking to
powerful.
me, but I mean, now that you think about it, we're kind of like the current generation's lemonade stand. You know, it's funny because you have to fill out all kinds of permits to open up a lemonade stand when you're 10 years old, but you can watch Shark Tank and learn a lot of the same business principles and then some. And you know, as a parent, when you see, you know, your 9-year-old talking about valuations and discussing whether or not it's a good idea, not only does it, you know, encourage parents or get them fired up, you know, that hey, my son or daughter's interested, but it also, you know, it teaches and it also gives confidence that, look, if some of these folks that come on Shark Tank and start their own business, so can I. And it, you know, we've heard story after story about the 11, the 12, the 15, the 16-year-old who watches Shark Tank and got inspired to start their own business. So.
You know, what I love during the show sometimes is some of the people that didn't get the deals.
Still do well.
But through the exposure, right, it totally shifts.
And that's a double-edged sword sometimes for us because when someone does well, like Big Chef Shake, or like they just had somebody on, I'm spacing who was just on, that did really, really well. They did a follow-up. And that's great. You always love to see someone do well. The challenge sometimes is sometimes people will come on the show and just try to play us for the PR. And that's where you'll see, you know, and I've been pretty good about that and being able to tell, you know, like Copa Divina, and you know, you can tell where
and got him twice.
Twice, you know, and you know, I could tell what was going on there. And there's the plate topper guy, and you know, there's been various. There's one coming up, Verbalize It, you know, where you could just tell where they were playing us. And so it's a double-edged sword because it's still a TV show at the end of the day, and they're trying to do good TV.
So tell me, what have been some of your ahas? I mean, as you now kind of see this breadth of entrepreneurial interests, right, coming on the show, and you don't pick, right? The judges don't pick.
We have no idea. And actually, I've gotten pitched deals, and then they've ended up on Shark Tank. I've had to recuse
I've seen
myself.
that. I've seen
I'm
that
like,
you
look,
do
you
that,
guys
yeah.
pitched me, and so I can't be here because it's not fair. And so, and part of the application process is, have you pitched these deals to any of the sharks? So it also means that they lied to get on the show.
Which is a whole nother measure for you, right?
And
You're
I'm like,
done.
I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. So what have been some of the things that you've noticed just in, you know, what's kind of going on out there?
You know, I don't know if it really tells trends, but the beautiful thing is that, you know, entrepreneurism is alive and well in the United States. You know, depending on what your political leanings are, you know, some people might say, oh, you know, entrepreneurship is dead, and you know, we people aren't starting new businesses, and this tax rate or that tax rate is going to impact. No, when someone has the fire in their belly to go out and do something, and they're willing to take that step to start a company, they're going to do it. And I've never met an entrepreneur that said, well, the tax rate's going to change my mind.
Exactly.
You know, now I've met entrepreneurs whose businesses were cash positive and they were paying more taxes than they want, or, you know, it impacted how much they can invest in their business. That's a different beast. But at the end of the day, you know, entrepreneurship that's what America's all about. The American dream is alive and well, and there's a never-ending flow of people who have ideas, have businesses, have started businesses that want to come on Shark Tank. You know, they're out there casting right now as we do this interview, and you know, I think in Dallas there were 5,000 people who showed up. Really? You know, I saw someone on Twitter posted a picture from Philly yesterday, maybe day before, where they were camping out 2 days ahead. That's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy when you think about it, and but it's also exciting.
Right. Now you're not involved in any of that,
nothing
right?
to do with
you're
it.
just showing up on the set with who they select and that kind of thing.
When they walk in the door, the only thing we know about them is their first name.
Wow.
That's why you see us pick up the notepads.
Yeah, oh,
because
right.
we're not allowed to use PCs, we're not allowed to use laptops, we're not allowed to use our phones to look stuff up. It's just what you know off the top of your head and how much you know about business and do you know the right questions to ask. But then, we start grilling them, and it's an interesting dynamic because the first step is to evaluate the company. Is it something you're interested in? Is it something you can make money at? Is it something you can get a return on? Then you've got to deal with the dynamic of the other sharks.
Right.
Are they interested? Do you want them to know that you're interested or not? Do I want to mess with them if it's a company I'm not interested in? Can I get them all fired up and interested?
Right.
Can I be? I like to be the quiet one. It's
You are the quiet one.
It's the only time in my life that I am the quiet one. Okay. Every other time I'm but just because it messes with them.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen you say I'm out, and then wait a minute.
Oh yeah.
I'm in.
Anything I can do to mess with them, the more fun I have. Because we all get along, and but we're still very, very competitive. Mm-hmm. And so if I can, grate on him a little bit, annoy him a little bit, and have some fun at the same time. We spend so much time together. There's all these little dynamics and all these little games that we play between each other just to make it more interesting. What if I offered you $1.25 million to sell the whole company?
Mark, you're saying screw the other sharks.
Yep. I like what you guys are doing. I want you to come back to me with a percentage. I don't want you to even talk to these guys.
You're asking him to take that option with you right now and ignore us? You're not a very nice guy.
It's not about me being wonderful.
No, I have that title, thank you.
It's about making a business decision, right?
Hi, I'm Mark Cuban. I'm a bully. Look at me.
What's that about, Mark?
Like I said, guys, you got to pay to play.
There's tension in this room, I can feel it.
It's offensive.
You got a shot here, right? Don't let these guys drag you down.
Are you really interested in this?
I like the idea.
You really think cooking bacon bedside is a good idea?
I love your passion. I love your knowledge.
I'm waiting for the butt. Yeah, there's a butt coming.
You got a 24-second shot clock, $750,000.
I've never seen greed like that. That's unbelievable greed.
You broke up with your potential partner without even looking at him.
You're a savage.
I'm just a lean, mean shark machine, baby. If I say yes to whatever your counter is, you have to tell me that you will say yes immediately and we have a deal.
$100,000.
Wait a minute.
For 20% equity.
Done and done.
Crap.
Do you like that, Barbara?
I don't like it one bit. That was so damn smart.
No, but that's a compliment to you.
Barbara, I screwed you, but it's a compliment to you.
I feel really good about it.
This isn't the Rose Garden, it's the Shark Tank. And you know what? Sometimes you got to take the bite and sometimes you're the chum.
So what is it that you're really looking for, Mark, when you choose to say, I'm in, I'm going to make you an offer?
I really don't have any one thing. I try to be objective about each company, but I guess I look for something that's differentiated. I look for something that's timely. I look for somebody who I think can run the company that's committed to it. I look for someone who does their homework, and I look to see if I can add value to it. Is it something that works for me? Because if it's something, the frozen food business, what big chefs say, because
Not your thing. I mean, not your area of connections.
And I don't, it's not so much connections. It's more, okay, it means I'm going to have to put in the time to work at this, and because otherwise it's not fair to the entrepreneur. And do I have the time? And that the time, and you hear me say it over and over again, time is my biggest constraint. It's more valuable to me than money. It's the one thing you can't get back. And look, I'm not here to tell you that time's always been my most valuable asset. When I was sleeping on the floor, I had plenty of time, right? And it's just, as you get older, I think more than anything else, and as you have a family, time becomes your most valuable asset, and that as much as anything else impacts the investments I make.
As you kind of develop this portfolio, if you will, of how you are investing, are you finding now that you're being even that much more scrutinizing of?
Yeah, just because of time.
Yeah, exactly.
And it means I have to hire a lot of good people. The Shark Tank stimulus program really is the more companies any of us buy, but in my situation in particular, I can't even count what have I hired? Probably 7 people, and growing just to deal with my Shark Tank investment.
In your own business, right, to help manage.
Right, the Mark Cuban, holding company, Mark Cuban companies, to manage all these things because there's not enough hours in the day for me to give the support that they need.
So tell me, as you invest in both kind of men-owned and women-owned businesses, are you noticing any difference whatsoever in terms of how you're working with them or what you're noticing they find is important or what they're passionate about? Are you noticing?
Not really. I'm gender agnostic. I mean, and you know, I don't care if you're male, female, transgender. I really don't care. Can you do the job? Now there are differences depending on the home situation, and again, it's not gender specific.
Right.
If it's a stay-at-home dad, which we've dealt with,
Yeah.
you know, if it's a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter. You are going to be restricted in your time. I don't care how magnanimous you say you're going to be and how committed you are to the business. If your son or daughter has a cold or has a fever or has head lice from, you know, preschool,
Right.
you're stuck.
Right.
And that becomes an issue. And I've never met a man or woman who stays at home that says, I can't deal with it, because they've been dealing with it. They felt that, you know, you're not going to start a company unless you feel like you can deal with it. But one of the biggest traps every entrepreneur falls into, including myself, is we lie to ourselves. Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I can do it.
Right.
And then it comes down to it, oh, this is one exception. Yeah, I can do it, you know, or I'll just adjust. And you've got to be brutally honest with yourself and say, you know, what's my competition doing? Because it's not like competitors are saying, yeah, Mark's son Jake,
Yeah.
he's sick today.
Yeah.
Everybody time out. You know,
Right.
there's a sickness, so we're all going to take it easy. They're like, he's down, go.
Exactly.
And same thing I would
It's
do.
a
to
window of
them.
opportunity,
It's a
right?
window of opportunity. So you've got to be honest with yourself and recognize that that puts a cap on your time. And I'm a big believer. You've got to work like there's somebody trying to take it all away from you, because there is.
Right.
There's no company, you know, there's no industry where, you're the monopoly. Congrats, you know. You know, in this day and age where it's less expensive to start companies because of technology.
Sure,
costs,
right,
and
exactly.
because you can outsource, and you can do different things, and you know, country doesn't matter. You can do it all here in the United States. It's so much easier, faster, cheaper to start a company these days that someone is going to bust your ass if you're not working hard enough, and so that's restriction. It's not a gender specific issue. It's, you know, a reality. It's a parent-specific issue, and I don't care who you are. You know, you're not going to. And if you're that parent who can just turn your back, yeah, I'll leave them in the car.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Then you got bigger problems.
Right, I was going to say,
Yeah.
another reason why you want to stay away from that
Exactly,
person, right?
exactly.
Okay, so how do you measure success? How does Mark Cuban measure success not only in your own business, right, but those that you're investing in?
Two different things, right? If I'm investing, I just want money.
Right, okay, bottom line, you're looking at, right.
It's payback, right? Because I'm giving you cash. You know, it's not like, do you have time to teach me how to play pool? Right? And that's a good enough
Do you
return.
have an internal formula on when you want that return back?
No, because that's where I'm pretty open.
Okay.
You know, I just want to know that there's that opportunity. You know, a lot of the companies that I invest in, I'll create quid pro quo opportunities for my other companies. So, you know, I'll invest X amount, but part of the deal is if you're a software company, like we use a company called Nimble.com for our CRM, and I invested in them. And part of the deal is my companies get free software. So
Right,
that gives
got
me
it.
a balance, you know, to create an opportunity there. So no, it's money. Now in terms of myself, I was happy when I was poor. You know, I wasn't going to stay happy being poor, but I had a great life. And for me, the definition of success is waking up in the morning with a smile on your face, excited about the day. And it doesn't matter how old you are, if you're 12, 24, 44, 84. If you wake up and that big old smile pops on, you know, and it doesn't matter if you have to flick the cockroach away from the bed. If you're excited about the the day, right, you're successful. You know, because most people, they set these line item things that they define themselves by what they don't have or by what other people have. And to me, that's crazy.
Always living for
Something
the
else,
next step,
right? And, you know, they find themselves in this grind to try to attain things because they think that's what it's about, rather than just saying, okay, what makes me happy? You know, when I sold my first company and I retired, it wasn't like I was going to live some lavish lifestyle. You know, I was still going to live in an apartment or live in a house where, you know, I was going to live like a student, basically, and I was fine with that. You know, I didn't need a bigger, fancier car. I didn't need the biggest house. I didn't need the biggest anything. You know, I had the same car, whatever. You know, I was just having fun. And as long as I felt like I was going to enjoy my day, I'm good. You know, and now that didn't say, you know, I still, you know, as I was grinding through for 7 years without a vacation, I had my goals, but I was enjoying the process. Otherwise, you're not going to go 7 years without a vacation if you're not having fun.
Exactly. So I want to shift and ask you a few personal things, right? So how has being married, being a husband, and now a father of 3, right? And your children are all under the age of 10. Okay.
3, 6, and 9.
So how has that shifted Mark Cuban, the person, and Mark Cuban, the businessman?
Oh, it's changed my priorities dramatically. I mean, now there's nothing more important than my kids. It's also changed the my approach to philanthropy, because before I would have said, okay, I can give away most of my money, no big deal. Now it's like, okay, just in case something's wrong, in case I have to fund some disease or whatever, right? It's all about my kids first. But the flip side of that is I waited. You know, I didn't get married till I was, how old was I? 44 years old. And so, you know, I waited for the right person, the right time, and you know, she understood.
You were ready.
Yeah, I was ready. I certainly was ready. She had just turned 21. Just kidding. No. She wasn't 21.
She is today, though. She's holding on to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's going to be for a long time.
For a long time. Good husband. You are a smart man. See, I told you were smart.
Yeah, you don't look a day over. Yeah. But yeah, so I found the right person, and we're a great complement to each other. And I've got the 3 best kids in the world, and you know, that's what matters.
Yeah, it does make a shift, doesn't it? Yes, okay, good enough. And what is it that, I mean, how is networking in your life? How important is that in terms
Networking is different for me because I can pick up a phone and get anywhere, you know, and I actually try to do 99.9% of my interactions via email. And I do it, and I don't necessarily recommend that for everybody, but I do it because I have so much going on that it all goes into my email, and it's like, okay, what did I talk about Sandra about? Da, 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 da. Then I can just search.
Exactly.
You know, if I'm networking, oh yeah, we talked about, I'm going to forget, right? Because I have too much going on.
Kind of keeps a trail for you,
yeah,
for a refresher.
Yeah, exactly right. It's my tickler file. It's my, you know, it's a library and archive for me. Now, back in the day, I was wherever there were customer opportunities, I was there. And wherever I could connect to people and tell them about micro solutions in particular, or about AudioNet or broadcast.com, yes, you know, I was there. And it always came down, if I was selling to businesses, I can make you more competitive, I can give you advantages, and I can make you more profitable. Do you want to hear more? Right? And let me prove it out. And here's my customer list. And
That's
talk to
powerful.
Them. Yeah,
Those
talk
are
to them.
3 great nuggets,
yeah,
right?
Talk to them, right?
Yeah.
You know, or if it was AudioNet, you know, the internet's going to happen. You know, do you want to be the one taking advantage of it to create new opportunities, or do you want your competitors to do it? Do you want to talk about it? I know you don't know anything about this because it's brand new, right? So you can believe it or not believe it, but let's talk about it. And so I always try to come up with something that was so compelling that it made sense for people to talk. And, you know, yeah, there was a lot of bullshit involved along the ways, you know. But at the same time, at the core of the business, I really tried to limit myself to things that were compelling and differentiated. Because in my businesses that I committed to, if they weren't compelling and differentiated, there's always somebody else who could come up with the same story and you know, undercut my prices, do a better job, whatever the case may be. And you know, one of my rules then and now was if describing my company versus yours or any other company, if I have to use adjectives that end in or est, I've lost you. I've lost. Right? Because
say more.
Well, you know, because if it's faster, better, cheaper, the best, right? Those are all BS terms, because the company I'm competing with, they're not saying, you're right. His is faster, his is better, his is cheaper, he's the best. No, let me tell you why my company is better, faster, cheaper, or whatever, and why he's wrong. So you set yourself up to, you know, just...
It's the nickel and diming now, right?
Well, yeah,
You're
it's just a
putting that
battle of words,
comparison,
right? You know, as opposed to, look, here's why they can't do it. Here's where we're differentiated. Here's why it's compelling, and we're going to preempt them. We're going to disrupt them, and here's why they can't respond. And go ahead and ask them. Ask them how they're going to respond.
Right.
You know, because then they're going to tell you what's in our plans. They're not going to say it's there. And so that's always been a core for me. So when we started HDNet in 2001, when everybody was looking at high-def sets and saying, those things are too expensive, people won't have them. point, you can't do anything about it. I know what's going to happen. Those are going to follow the same price performance curves of PCs. And so we were able to, start an industry. When we had Magnolia Pictures and we weren't selling movies the way we wanted to, I said, okay, let's change the window paradigm. We'll put our movies on VOD before they're in theaters to take advantage of the unique assets that we have. We own Landmark Theaters, we own Magnolia Pictures, so we own HDNet movies, and so we have these differentiated assets that are unique that you can't touch, and we can do things different. And so now, that was 7 years ago. Now the industry is just catching up, or trying to, and it's killed it for us. And so again, you've got to be careful not to lie to yourself. You've really got to be honest, particularly if you're starting a business, because so often I hear, well, I can do this better. What do you think the competitor that you're trying to do better than you?
Right, exactly.
You think they're just going to sit there and let you do it? They're going to do everything they can to, in Kevin's words, to squash you like a bug, right? And so you've got to be honest with yourself. Is it truly differentiated, and can you sustain that differentiation, and how are you going to stay there? And or the next excuse is, if I only had more money. Right. You know what? 99.9% businesses don't fail because of more money. They don't fail for lack of money. They fail for lack of brains. Right. And you just haven't figured out what it is that differentiates you.
So Mark, what would most people be surprised to learn about you?
I'll tell you what most people, I think everybody thinks that someone in my position just go, 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 go. I mean, I wake up, I'm in my shorts, I work from home, I go sit on my computer. My excitement of the day, since I really do meetings or calls, is playing with my kids and sitting on my computer all day. I mean, literally, other than going to the gym and playing basketball or working out, I mean, I'm at home. Okay. I don't go out a lot. I think people would be surprised that I don't always do my own shopping, but I have no problem, going shopping, doing whatever. Right. That, our family, we have a nanny that's there, 8 hours Monday through Friday to help and pick up kids and stuff like that. But, at night and weekends, we're pretty much on our own. We try to live as normally as possible, and so we're just, no butlers, no servants, that's just not me. Yeah.
You feel really at peace and in alignment with the life you have now?
I mean, I don't think I look at it that way. I just try to enjoy every day. I mean, someone's got to be the luckiest guy in the world, and as long as my kids are healthy, that's me.
There you go. Oh, how cool is that? So from a business perspective, what's 1 to 3 things that pieces of advice, if you could leave like the golden nugget or nuggets to entrepreneurs?
Do the work. Most people don't do the work. I got this idea. Then you talk to 10 friends. Oh, they love my idea. Oh, I don't know anybody. Do the work. Unless you're starting another car business, you're going to make cars or manufacture something, even then, I mean, sweat equity goes so much further than anything else, but most people, they're not willing to do the work. Oh, that's a great idea, let's go have a beer. It's a great idea, let's go to the movie. Great idea. No, you're going to have to give something up to start a successful company. It just doesn't come to you. You've got to go get it. You've got to put in the time. You've got to put in the effort, and you've got to do the work. And I just think most people don't. Okay. How do you figure that out with someone? You fail. How do you figure out with someone else? Yeah. You don't always. I mean, one of my Shark Tank companies, Toy Guru, they wouldn't do the work. They thought they were. They felt like they were. They weren't doing the work. I've got another company where they just do stupid stuff. You got to do the work, to do your homework, to understand what's smart and what's, you can't charge less for shipping than it costs you. Right, exactly. Someone's not going to just give you money to make it up, right? You got to do the work to figure everything out. And, even when things are going well, you can't, like I have another shark, they're killing it. But I've got to keep on reminding them, you've got to watch everything and pay attention to the details, because things are going to slow down. And how you handle it when things slow down is going to determine whether or not you're successful long term. And you got to do the work. And I just think a lot of entrepreneurs, they get excited about the idea, they get excited about the dream. They tell themselves because they're passionate, that's all that matters. Passion is the biggest lie to every entrepreneur, because all of us are passionate about something. And just because you get passionate about something that you can start a business in, doesn't mean it's a good business. You know, don't follow your dreams, follow your effort. You know, you'll find that the harder you work at something, the better you are. The better you are, the better chance you have of success. And it's not to say that you can't, you know, work hard and get great at something you're passionate about, but so many people. I remember being passionate about baseball when I was a kid. I remember being passionate about basketball. You know, it wasn't going to make me jump any higher or run any faster. You know, and there's been lots of businesses where I thought, okay, this is a great idea. And then when it came time to do the work, it didn't match up with me, and I wasn't willing to do the work. You know, follow your efforts. Where do you put in your time? Where are you willing to work? Because you'll be shocked that that's probably your true passion. It's probably just not as cool or as hip or as dramatic or glamorous. And again, that goes back to entrepreneurs lie to themselves probably more than anybody. So do the work and see what happens.
Yeah, it's sometimes a double-edged sword, because when no one else is believing in you, you have to believe in yourself, but there comes a time too that you can't get.
Look, and the way to determine if you believe in yourself is, are you doing the work?
Yeah, there you go.
You know, I believe in myself. I know I can do it. You know, and it's great. The little train that could, right? But that little train got up the hill.
Exactly, right.
It wasn't just about saying I know I can. It was doing the work to get up that stupid hill. You know, and you can tell yourself I know I can all day long. But if you're not willing to you know, wake up sore because you were walking up that hill every day, you're not doing the work.
Powerful message. Powerful message.
It's powerful, but hopefully
it's powerful, and I think it's you know, it's the simple things sometimes, right?
It really, really
we
is.
try to make sometimes success so complicated, and what you've done and what I love about what you've said is really the coolest thing is that that's something I don't have to rely on somebody else for. Right? It comes from within.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to try to control your own destiny. How can you control your own destiny? And if you can, and I tell it to my companies all the time, what's your core competency? How can you control your own destiny? Because the minute you lose control of that, you're dependent on somebody else. And look, that happens to every company at one point or another, but the less you can have it happen, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. Well, I've learned a lot. Let me just tell you, what I've noticed about you is that you really focus on kind of how do you innovate and create a different customer experience? How do you look at something and not just tweak it with the ERs or the EST, make it a little bit better, a little bit faster, but really stepping back and saying, this is a good idea. What isn't being done with this idea, and how can I impact, you know, the customer experience?
Yeah, it can't just be make it better. I mean, that's a starting point to think about it. Right. But it's got to be, how can I just screw this thing up so bad they never knew what hit them?
Yeah. Yeah, turn it inside out, but make it more spectacular as a result,
how can I put these people out of business?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me just tell you personally, I mean, I have a core value, and that is, my mother taught me, you know, to whom much is given, much is required. And what I want to say to you is that I feel like you are, whether that's a value of yours or not, you really do live that. I mean, really the cherishing moment for me here is really learning how, you know, with your kind of success, it would be very easy to kind of step back. I mean, forget for a moment the business, the reality of the you know, you're increasing your own portfolio by investing. But, you know, it's bigger than that, because as you have demonstrated here, you're on the phone, you're mentoring them, you're giving them feedback.
And it is important to me. I mean, you know, in a lot of respects, that's my philanthropy, and that, you know, I still give money to this stuff and all that, but, you know, if I can, and that's probably the reason I do Shark Tank, because so many people learn about business, and it's become one of the best, if not the best venue to teach kids, you know, about business, and to encourage people, and to give them, you know, to let them know that if they do the work, that it's, you know, they can be successful, and the American dream is alive and well. And if I can be part of that message, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing. I mean, as you give money, that's giving them the fish, but you're teaching a lot of people how to fish. It's a great thing. It's been such an honor to meet you.
Pleasure's mine, Sandy.
Spend this time. Okay? Thanks.